Health doesn't have to be boring. In games, the player usually has a health bar, some lives, or some number somewhere on the screen, and when an enemy hits them, that number goes down until it hits zero, and then they die. It's a mechanic in games you kind of just take for granted. The gameplay doesn't usually change when you're on 1 health compared to 100% health. You run just as fast, you're still able to swing a massive sword around, fire off huge laser beams, etc. I think that's kind of boring. The hypest moments in Dragon Ball is when Goku's rib is broken, he's about to die, but he still gets up and puts up a fight despite being visibly on 1 HP, or he has 4th stage cancer. I just wanted to look at some games that have done a lot with their health system and see how they have become more interesting because of it. The first games are Kenchi and Rim World. Both have health bars for different body parts. Getting hit in different locations affects the character's body in different ways. The most obvious ways are like a blow to the leg causing you to limp, or a blow to the head making them post on Reddit. In Kenchi, if you're hit in one spot, you lose full use of that limb, with it either being broken or completely torn off. If this happens, you will become unable to use the heavier weapons in the game, and there's also combat penalties. RimWorld also has similar penalties for aiming and melee combat. It also has the diseases and infections that help affect the stats in different negative ways. These sort of itemized health bar lists work really well for these games because they're very immersive and based off of storytelling. Having a character in RimWorld get their eye blown off to a nearby solar system from a mecha centipede and having a bionic eye instead is a lasting injury that tells a story. Every time you look at them, you'll remember what happened. In Kenshi, you might lose your arm to the General of the United Cities. Then you get a prosthetic and train until you beat them again, and it makes the rematch that much cooler. It's your own little shonen battle arc. You also get to see the characters you control come closer and closer to the brink of death, and it makes them more real and the situation in the game that much more visceral. Their bodies tell a story of what they have overcome, and I wish more RPG games had stuff like that with permanent injuries and such. Super Smash Bros. Needs no introduction. Pretty much everyone has played it. I'm a King DDD man, if you were wondering. When you get hit, the percent bar goes up instead of down. The higher the percent, the more likely you are to get knocked back and making it easier to hit you off the map. What's interesting to think about, though, is how that character's percent health bar impacts every other aspect of the game's design. You learn different combos that work depending on the character's percent, and every stage is very open, so being hit off the stage is easier. If it had a standard health bar, I would imagine it would be very drastically different as far as the design goes. Levels would be more closed off and less creative probably overall. It would be cool to see what other game genres would look like that if they had a similar health system. Imagine like an FPS or an action game with a similar system. It would be very cool. Some honorable mentions are also survival games. Don't Starve and Project Zomboid do a lot to expand on a single health bar, giving the players more to manage and take care of. Overgrowth is kind of interesting. It calculates the damage of different limbs based off of the force it receives within the physics system. So a bad fall or like landing wrong can easily break your character's neck. It allows for them to not have visible health bars on screen while also having a very intuitive, like, oh, I just got hit, I'm almost dead. Like, it makes sense. You don't ever really wonder if you're close to death or not. I think it's fun, though, just to brainstorm, like, game ideas that where you use a health system and you flip it on its head. Like, what if you had a game where you played as a slime and getting hit blows off parts of your slime, and if you get too small, you die. Conversely, though, being small has advantages like moving faster and maybe you have more stealth. You can fit places you normally wouldn't be able to. You could become bigger by absorbing matter from your enemies, and being bigger would maybe make you tankier, harder to hit, and also like your attacks stronger. But you don't always want to be bigger. Maybe sometimes you need to be smaller. The slime could shoot like projectiles off its body to make themselves smaller and also deal damage. Or if you wanted to use like an attack that didn't use up your health, and you could maybe have them do like a melee attack or something. I think it would also appeal to the British audience who eat slime and mush. I'm not really sure. It's just like a half-baked idea, but I think it illustrates that once you start experimenting with health, you open up a lot of different gameplay possibilities. Sometimes the standard health bar number is the correct choice, and it's the default option in many games for a reason, because it is a very tried and true, tested design pattern. But I don't know, a twist on a choice like that of something that people take for granted is enough to make a very creative game, in my opinion. just something to think about. Another thing also, just as a side note, I think healing is more interesting in games if health is interesting. Healing is also sort of limited by the single digit health number, but yeah. This has been Butt Muncher 7 though. Subscribe and like and join Butt Muncher Nation. It's also good for your health to do that. So, bye.